arrogant, throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting the fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Try to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That's church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defined, cannot describe it. Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. At every bar, even though my bar's been the hardest. The scars on my face said I ain't always been the smartest, but I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves, even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve, I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve, even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve, I can show you where my...
The type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people, I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm liking to Mike Tyson, I'm a bison, a beast. I'm hot like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old, out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yeah, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant. Tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retrofit. It gets so lit, I guess so, bitch, now let's go.
I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeves, even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will...
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another wonderful time with your boy Pinky and Caleb. A little sports nonsense and whiskey. It's Tuesday, Pinky, August 22nd. Did I get that? August 22nd, yeah. I do believe.
Yeah. August 22nd, my man.
Just here to hang out, talk, cheers a little bit. Welcome, everyone.
Tuesday, boys. We're back.
Oh, boy. Football is basically back, Pinky. We'll talk more about that, obviously, but
still,
we're there. We're there.
Still getting over a cold, my man. So
that's unfortunate, my man.
You know, maybe if I drink enough whiskey, I'll get rid of that devil. Then I'll have a different devil to deal with.
Yeah, that'll work. It's been known to work. Trade one for the other. That's all you're doing, though.
How was your weekend, my man?
Solid. Trying to think what I did Saturday. Definitely stuff with the family. I don't really remember. I don't think we really did anything. A couple errands, and that was it. But Sunday, got to hang out with you and a bunch of our other buddies for our annual redraft league, which is always a good time. So it's always nice to see everyone in person and draft and look them in the eye when you know they're trying to do something that's not in your favor and tell them why it's not a good idea instead of trying to communicate it through text, making sure they really understand they don't want that player. Move on from that player.
That never works, but
no, good times. Always good times. I think I did all right. Definitely not projected with the most points, but I got pretty much exactly what I wanted, which never happens. So I don't know if that's going to be good or bad for me. We'll see. How was your weekend, my guy?
It was good, buddy. It was good. Of course, I've been fighting off a sickness. I was pretty sick Thursday and Friday last week. And Friday night, went up to Denver, took the wife out to a nice dinner, stayed in a hotel up in Denver, the Warwick. And then we did we just relaxed at the pool Saturday before heading to the Ed Sheeran concert. And then, just waited 5 hours to see Ed Sheeran get the stage. 3 lightning delays. But he came on and did the full set. We didn't get shortchanged. He rocked it. he was awesome, man. It was like him up on stage. It's by himself. It's live. You can hear it. Like you can kind of hear if he misses a note, like because he's doing it all live. It was awesome.
Solid.
And, his stage rotates, so he would like either be in the middle or then he'd get on like the rotating part, and he'd literally be playing and singing and rotating. And I was like, that takes some practice, man. Like if I move at all, I'm getting dizzy. And
yeah, I can see where that would not be good for some people. That's pretty solid.
Yeah.
All right.
I was like, wow. So yeah, concert got over about midnight. We were able to get back to the hotel about 1:00. So that was a long day. Long day.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a little later than a concert normal show here in Colorado gets out at.
So I was my buddy commented, I'm wearing the jersey in honor of him. Of course, I love Joey B. He's one of the what I would call my guys. I like watching him play. We'll talk more about my guys, but it's a great weekend with the wife. The draft was great. I had another draft right after that draft. We started a couples league, and that was fun. We just drafted a good company. It took like an hour. Like we were like 10-man league. It was done in an hour. And at that point, I was like, we could sit here and chat, or we could go. And I was like, I'm ready to go. Let's get our tab, and I need to get some sleep.
Oh man. All right. Well, you feel good about the teams you got?
We'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later, but yeah, I'm not in love with them, but if things break my way, I could have some good teams.
Okay.
So, and I'll show you. We'll get there.
All right. We'll get there too. What do you, Pinky, have on the sports world outside of the football?
I missed a lot this weekend. I had to catch up, obviously, with being at Ed Sheeran. So there's a couple preseason games I had to catch up on Sunday when I got back. I got a comment. I am definitely not a Sean O'Malley fan. I'm just not. Something about the guy. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really like him. I got to give it to him though. He's a cocky SOB, and he definitely backed it up. I was pretty shocked. But I don't think Sean O'Malley's game is really that great. But if he hits you, if he hits you, you're gonna go to sleep.
Do you honestly believe that? I always butcher his last name, but Nurmagomedov. Khabib, yeah. Do you think he really would have beat Conor if Conor hadn't taken, what was it, like 2.5 years off?
Yeah. Conor, I don't know, man. That time off he took did hurt his game.
Because that's kind of what O'Malley is right now, is almost like a watered down version, if you will, of Conor in his prime. Because they'll strike you first, or they'll counter off of you and put you down, and they don't let it go long. Like they're judging that distance, and then they're popping you, and fight's over. And that's like, it's kind of what I'm seeing from O'Malley. He's doing it really well.
Mamba, it's definitely not the hair. I like diversity. I like guys showing personality. So that part I'm cool with. I just something about the guy. I don't know.
Fine line between confidence and cocky, and I could see where he would come off as kind of cocky to some people, and that could make you want him to get knocked out rather than wanting to see him knock someone out.
A character like him is good for the UFC because you either love him or you don't like him. Like,
sure,
there's not a middle ground there, really.
No, not really. Yeah,
you have a polarizing view of him. So, I thought it was interesting that he won. He cocked cocked it back. Slap.
He let him come forward at him, and he just kind of backstepped a couple times, and then just. Do you see Sterling came out and was like, basically saying like it shouldn't have been stopped because he was rolling and moving, and I'm like, bro, your head got bounced off the canvas 3 times.
He was able to come back and get you a couple times, like on the canvas, bro.
No.
I mean, and then he was like, I think I earned the right to get an immediate rematch, and I was like, because you had 2 title defenses, like I don't think so. Like,
if he had made it a fight, maybe.
If you won like 4 rounds and then he knocks you like that in the 5th round, yeah, like I could agree with that. Like, like I thought when Usman lost to that head kick by Leon Edwards, I was like, Usman won like the whole fight and then got knocked out, and I was like, yeah, sure. And then Leon Edwards did it again, right? Yeah. So, took him again. So. Kudos to him. But yeah, I love the UFC, so I was like at least semi paying attention to that. I thought that was kind of an interesting turn of events, and that was really my the weekend was all my wife, so I was kind of tuned out to sports. So
I mean that's kind of where we're at right now. The James Harden saga is continuing, but we talked about that last week.
Man, what a jerk!
Yeah, I don't really know what he's thinking because I don't think the NBA or the owners, like those 2 separate entities, if you want to think about them that way, are happy with James Harden over the last couple of years.
I mean, look,
and
bro.
now he's like trying to force hands again in such a way that they're like, nah.
You showed up super fat in Houston.
Twice he did that.
Forced your way out of Houston. Then you're like, okay, you got to Brooklyn. But then after Brooklyn, you're like, no, I don't want to be here. Get me out of here. And now you want to be in the 76ers. Like, if I'm another NBA team, I'm like, I don't want that guy on my team.
That's what I'm saying. Like, any trade package that somebody would be willing to give up for James Harden right now to the Sixers would be equivalent to just letting him sit at home for the season and not playing for your team and just finding him the max amount that you can to recoup a little bit of your dollars and then move on. He's not worth anything, so you're not going to get anything for him. And if he doesn't want to play, cool, sit at home. Team chemistry might be better without you.
I love that his big issue is the president said that I will trade you immediately after you decline your player option or whatever.
After you sign your player option.
No,
he wanted him to opt into it.
He opted out though. He chose to opt out of his player option.
No. He opted in. That's why he's getting paid. They didn't sign him to a new contract.
Oh. Well, either way, I was just like, well, if there's no good deals out there for you, like I can't help you, man.
Yeah, well, this is the other funny part. Again, it's Daryl Morey. This is the dude who built everything around him in Houston. And then he traded a whole bunch to get him to Philly. Like, Daryl Morey is your guy.
Right.
But now that Daryl Morey has finally realized your value and not inflating it in his own mind, and you're not happy about that, not necessarily his fault for finally making a good choice for the organization. So that we'll see how that goes. I mean, I would love to see him just sit at home. And you know me, I'm usually player guy, not ownership guy.
I mean, he's done it everywhere.
This kind of stuff all the time, and
he's done it everywhere.
It's always them, not me, kind of stuff.
Right.
Which, let's be honest, we found out that's how Joel Embiid is too after that playoff loss.
Right.
Because he tried to take ownership and then decided to finish it with, but let's be clear here. It is them and not me. And it was like, okay. Now we know how you really feel.
Right.
So,
I mean, again, it's very prevalent in today's society. Instead of taking accountability for what you can control, it's somebody else's fault.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
training camp starts in a little less than a month. ish, somewhere in there. So yeah, that'll be fun to watch. See how that goes.
Yeah, I hope he sits at home. Really, again, if I'm a team, I'm like, do I really want him on my team?
New coach and Nick Nurse. The team doesn't really want you, but you have the option to sign in, so you took.
No, I mean,
you could.
And you could
and
say
Bede's acting like maybe he doesn't even want to be in Philly anymore. Like the implosion, it could be of epic proportions.
Trust the process, baby. Trust the process.
It's a Kansas guy, right? Right? That's a Kansas guy?
Embiid is a Kansas. He spent 1 year. He had a cup of coffee in Kansas, okay? I know what you're trying to apply, Dick.
Oh, goodness. So there's that. We briefly discussed the Wandar Franco situation, didn't we, last week?
We did, and it sounds like there's still some more info coming out.
Yeah, so there's not much to talk about still, but there's definitely, I mean,
he's got some, he said, he's basically saying no. When he was younger, a couple years ago, when he was younger, he had a relationship with someone younger.
When he was still a minor as well.
When he was still a minor, that was okay with her parents. And then she's basically trying to blackmail him. And he's like, no, everything's like above board. But, you know, she's trying to blackmail him for like, I think I saw something was like, she tried to get a Ferrari from him or like all these different things. And he was just like, no. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, you're guilty until proven innocent. So he's, you know, he's got some hard time coming as this all gets sorted out.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And the timing, now that they both came out at the same time, he's dealing with multiple fronts now, and the MLB is just like, the Rays have taken down like all his stuff inside Tropicana. Is it Tropicana Field? I think is the name of their stadium.
I think so.
I just read today an article where they've taken down like everything they could of him within the stadium. Like he's nowhere to be seen, no advertising, nothing. So it's wild to me that you would just, unless you know something we don't, like why would you so quickly? Because you'd look foolish. Like you're not going to look good.
But
if I mean, he's in the right. Now, if he's in the wrong and you already know that.
I mean, but then, that's like typical society, though. You know, rush to judgment, and we're gonna basically like just act like you don't exist, even though nothing's been proven, nothing's been, you know, it's all allegations at this point. Which, you know, again, if they come out to be true, then you know that's pretty awful, but
not good stuff. Not good stuff.
We don't know, and I don't think we have the information to be the judge, jury, and executioner.
No, we usually try to be smart with this stuff, and not, you know, we'll talk out of both sides of our mouth.
We waited till there were 24 cases against Deshaun. Okay, we gave him some due of like, yeah, it's just a couple, and yeah, you know, it was your second or third visit, so we know that they kind of accepted the behavior, and you know, but then it was like, oh, it's 24, 25 now. Well, you know, maybe there's really a pattern going on.
Yeah, something going on. So there's that. More information to come hopefully soon.
Braves are still in first place, best team in the league.
Dodgers are creeping.
Dodgers are
Orioles
on a tear right now. They're 9-1 in their last 10 games, so they're on a tear.
Orioles have like 2 years left with this team before they'll have to actually like sign guys, and their GM or president already came out and said we'd have to like multiply our ticket prices and food stands by 10 if we want to actually be able to pay these guys. So don't plan on it.
This is the MLB problem. We got a bunch of poor dudes owning major league teams who, when they can't afford to pay guys, they just give them to different teams, and then they suck again, and then they run the process all over again.
But let's be honest.
Like,
what did the Lamar Jackson thing teach us? There's actually some poor owners in the NFL too.
Right.
While their franchises might be worth a lot, they actually aren't, and it's causing issues when you got to do that escrow payment for these guaranteed contracts that they don't want to part of.
And that's that my point with Major League Baseball. If you cannot afford to try to put a winning product on the field for your fans, you shouldn't be an owner.
It's tough.
If your excuse to your fans is we can't afford to do that, then you shouldn't be an owner, because it goes hand in hand. I guarantee you, the Rockies still get decent attendance. If the Rockies were winning, they'd be sold out all the time.
For sure.
Right? If we knew that they were trying to actually build a winning team, even if they were sucking, we would still show up. We'd be there. But they're not, and they don't care. Because again, visiting team fans fill up half the stand, and they buy enough beer, and they're happy with that.
Exactly.
And there's nobody forcing them to do better, right? Which is a problem with baseball. There's nothing in place to make every team try to be competitive. Whereas in
there's no
the NFL, there's a floor,
right,
for the salary cap of this is what you have to spend. And you have to spend at least X amount over a 3-year period, or you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, baseball has something. They have a floor of some kind. I can't remember exactly how it works, but they do have a floor. But the problem is there's no ceiling.
But I think their floor is like $8 million.
Well,
or something stupid.
I don't think it's that low, but it's
low.
Yeah, it's not good.
They showed Oakland was running a team of $8 million overall. Like it was incredibly low. So yeah, that's
the thing is, I've
low.
always heard in baseball the players want that floor to be a whole lot higher, but then the owners want to put a cap on the ceiling finally, and the players are like, never mind, you dudes can waste away at the bottom because we really need that big money to stay at the top. The players literally are vulturing themselves in those situations.
Come on, man. The Reds had Joey Votto in his prime. They've got India Cruz, or not India Cruz, Jonathan India. They've got some guys. But yeah, and I think you're going to see the same in football where, I think eventually Mark Davis is going to get priced out of the NFL. He's still, even with moving to Vegas, he's still one of the poorest owners.
Yeah, it's hard to see him. I mean, the way it's going right now.
He could sell that team, and I think they would get $10 billion.
Unless he can get some other investors who are willing to allow him to keep majority, but are willing to back him financially, like Brady, but with deeper pockets. If he can find something like that now in Vegas, then maybe. But otherwise, yeah, why am I drawing a blank on the Baltimore Ravens owner?
Oh, that's God.
I always want to call him Buscemi.
He's pretty rich, and he still wears jeans everywhere, which is cool.
He's on the bottom side, though. He himself is not a net profiteer compared to some of these other guys.
Steve Biscotti.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, with the Lamar, I think I was reading he was worth about 2.5 or something like that.
He's worth $6.3 billion.
6.3. Okay.
So he's not poor.
No, not even close. But it's still, I think, I was eye-opening to some people on what some of these owners are actually truly valued at compared to what they have people pay for them. Every owner in sports should be able to pay for their own stadium themselves without any city taxes. That should just be happening.
Mark Davis is supposedly, and I don't know how much of this is his actual net worth. It might be, some of this might be based on his ownership of the Raiders. $1.9 billion. Which seems a little high to me.
Yeah, it's still I mean, we're talking about billionaires, which is ridiculous. Like, let's be honest. That's just stupid. Like, there's no reason to be a billionaire. Like, literally zero reason to be a billionaire. Like, that's so much money that you could never do everything you wanted with it. But into perspective, we're talking about elite men owning teams. So in the grand scheme of that picture, I mean, that's a bummer, because can they ever truly, going forward, like you were just talking about, be able to put a team on the field that's going to be able to compete when it comes to being able to sign enough talent to those big deals to stay with you?
Gonna have to have a big line of credit to put that money in escrow, man. That's why
he's in Vegas.
That's why Khalil Mack's not a Raider anymore. That's why Amari Cooper's not a Raider anymore. That's why they wanted to get rid of Derek Carr, get rid of that money, right?
Yep. Only to send it over to Devontae Adams. Like,
send it to Devontae Adams, who still rumors that he doesn't want to be in Vegas anymore.
Why would he? He said the only reason he went there is because of Carr. Like, he was not shy about that. You know what I mean? Like, he never came out as like, I love this organization. I wanted to play for the Raiders my entire life. I am so thrilled about this move. No, dude, he's like, my boy Carr's here. I was super happy. Love the thought of being able to finish our careers out together, this and that and the other. And then they're like, oh, that guy? That's the guy you wanted to come here for? That's the only reason you accepted the trade? We're trading him. We're going to go ahead and move on from him.
I think we'll just hit on a couple football topics before we switch to college football.
Okay.
Jonathan Taylor was granted permission to seek a trade. This
won't happen because he'll realize after his agent comes back to him in like 3 days and says, hey, yeah, there's no value for you.
This is 5 months too late. Teams have used up a lot of their money, right? Teams don't, the teams who had draft capital now don't. It's, it's bad timing. The problem, and the extra problem is Jim Irsay, being the really smart man that he is. You can't go out and talk about like you're not going to negotiate with your best offensive player, like not even offer him a deal at all, and then be like, yeah, he's worth a first-round pick. Like, well,
not just that, you're talking about how he's still injured and that's why he's not able to practice and stuff. Like,
right. I'm on the side of the fence that there's like, I've listened to other podcasts. 5280 this evening talked about it a little bit. A couple other ones. Jonathan Taylor's not going anywhere.
No.
Jonathan Taylor's going to play for the Colts or he's not going to play. Like, that's it. Like, nobody's trading for him. No one's giving up a second and a fourth and then going to try to pay him, $12 million. It's not going to happen.
Well, especially when he wants like 15. So
he now that he's been slided, though, he might accept 12 just to get the hell out of there, right? You may accept a little bit less now to just, I want to get out of here. I don't want to deal
where it is, possibly.
I don't want to deal with Jim Irsay anymore.
I mean, that's the thing. He has all the leverage because this is he's going into his last year of his rookie deal, right? So you're not going to trade him as a 1-year rental unless you know you can sign him to a deal. Mm-hmm. And that's where Irsay is out of his mind, because it's like, yeah, he doesn't have a no trade clause, but all he has to do is let his agent know that he doesn't want to play for that organization and he's not going to do a deal with them. And then that organization's not going to trade for him. Like, it's pretty simple math here. So Irsay is like shooting himself in the foot and then deciding to do it again just to make sure it really happened.
And I got to listen to Mike Florio this afternoon, and he brought it up, and he was just like, everything Irsay is doing just makes no sense at all.
Not a thing. He's like, not a thing.
And obviously you can't, like, he's your best offensive player. Like, if there's any guy you should pay and make happy on a young team would be your best offensive player.
Absolutely.
So he was like, I'm sure they came out immediately and said, we will not trade him to try to get him to, calm down, think about things. Now that hasn't worked, now they're like, okay, we will trade you. But no team's going to trade for him now. Now, I think there's a couple teams out there that make a lot of sense. That, like, if you're trying to swing for the fences, like, my opinion, we all and we've talked about this multiple times. Jerry Jones wants to win a Super Bowl in his lifetime, right? Do you think Jonathan Taylor combined with Tony Pollard would give that offense some pretty good ability to run the football on a consistent basis?
Well, not just that. It's you really think like you couldn't get him for a second and a fourth?
Oh, I think they would absolutely take anything you throw at them.
So, like, if that's the case, is Jerry willing to give up a second and a fourth and hit a window right now that could be a good, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how much wear and tear from college you consider. Is his body, like, certain guys are mutants. Derrick Henry's a mutant. Like, he does get some injuries here and there, but not major.
Well, people are also forgetting what his first 2 or 3 years in the league, he basically got, no touches.
Well, they kind of ramped up the first 3 seasons, yeah.
Yeah, because DeMarco Murray was in front of him the first 2 years.
Right.
And he basically got nothing. And then the third year, then they started letting him go a little bit more, but still were splitting. And then by year 4, he was off to the races. So, yes, he's, 29? Henry's 29, I think.
Yeah, he's up there. But, I mean, that dude's a completely different animal than most
Well, but
people.
I'm saying you take 3 years off of that, right? Basically, the first 3 years of his career aren't a ton of touches. College, he didn't get hit that much because he was, twice the size of most of the guys he was playing against. So he doesn't have the same wear and tear as, say, a Christian McCaffrey. Chubb and him are probably similar, and that's only because we all know Cleveland doesn't give Chubb a lot of touches.
Chubb's injuries in college kept him from taking a lot of touches, so I'm not worried about Chubb. Zeke had a lot of touches in college. Taylor had a lot of touches. So,
and then Zeke led the league, the first 3 years of his career in touches.
Yeah. So, Jonathan Taylor's not going anywhere, in my opinion.
I agree. I don't.
He's gonna have to suck it up and play for 4.3. That's what's gonna happen.
Well, and then they'll franchise him next year probably, and then he can go seek a deal. That's his only saving grace is he's not a first round pick.
Correct. So let's see. Was there anything? Oh, I did want to comment. I know you love Aaron Rodgers. I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan. I watch Hard Knocks, man. I just watch him smile, and I'm just like, man, this is awesome. I love seeing Aaron Rodgers happy, having a good time. I'm excited to watch the Jets this year.
Dude, I've heard a lot of people be like, well, I didn't want to go in there and like Aaron Rodgers, and I came out loving him, and I hate saying that, but it's true. Guy's having fun, getting along with his teammates. I hear he has lunch every day with a different teammate, doesn't sit with position groups, just walks around and has a lunch with somebody new every day at camp. So, yeah, different than what you were hearing coming out of Green Bay, for sure.
Hold on just a sec.
Well, Pinky deals with that. I haven't watched any of Hard Knocks. I heard maybe I should watch this season, but I'm kind of over it. It's the same formula every year, nothing really new. So I'm not really getting into it anymore.
I mean, he's helping Zach Wilson, Cody. I'm not going to say that Zach Wilson's still not going to be a good good QB when this is all said and done.
You never know. People said that about Jordan Love, right? You still don't think he's going to be a good QB.
I don't think he's going to be a good QB. I think Jordan Love is going to be.
There's a lot of people who really like what they see this preseason.
But they're not watching the games.
I would disagree. I mean,
I watched both of them. They're easy reads. I'm not impressed. He's not playing top defenses. He's not getting pressured at the moment. I'm not impressed. I think he'll be okay. He's not going to be dog shit, but I don't think he's going to be he's not going to be a quarterback that is going to just carry that team to the playoffs. That's just not going to happen. The team's going to have to be really, really good around him. Is he going to be
I mean, it's a really, really good team around him.
Could he be I don't know. It used to be Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton was the line of Andy Dalton can take you to the playoffs, but he's not going to do anything special for you if the rest of the team around him is really good.
Okay.
I think he's going to be at that line.
Is Carson Palmer in that same breath?
Yeah, absolutely.
What happens that year that he gets that knee injury? Wasn't that the first round of the playoffs?
It was. Yeah.
What happens if he doesn't get injured?
Well, they would have beat the Steelers. I know that.
You think that trajectory is different for Cincinnati back then? Because they were looking like they were about to do something special that year.
That's tough because, yeah.
And then he went down to Phoenix, and he was really good down in Phoenix. I think Carson Palmer is a little bit better than Andy Dalton.
He's probably better. He's probably better than Andy Dalton. Yes.
Okay.
I could absolutely agree with that.
I was just seeing if we're just talking about Cincinnati quarterbacks.
I'm just saying,
or
there's this there's a line for quarterbacks. You're not there. I think Jordan Love will get to that line of he's not horrible, he's not great, he can win some games. He's Dak Prescott, yeah, sure. If everything's good around him, the guy will be okay. But he's not anything special, and he's never going to win you. Again, if you put that guy with the 2015 Broncos defense, can he win a Super Bowl? Sure, right? Because Peyton Manning was a shell of himself in 2015, and we won a Super Bowl. But we had an all-time defense behind him.
I think there's a lot of guys that got to prove it this year. Jordan Love, you're talking about him for sure. Justin Fields, Tua. I mean, there's some talent out there that needs to. Brock Purdy.
Tua doesn't even all Tua's got to do is not get hurt, man. Tua's already shown that dude can sling it.
I know.
On time, accurate.
Look at this guy acting like he's defending Tua against me. Come on, that's not happening. Who do you think you are? Acting like I don't like Tua.
I know what I saw, man. I watched it. If he took 3 steps and he was nobody was near him, Tyreek or Jalen Waddle had the ball in their hands 15 to 20 yards downfield.
Yeah.
I know what I saw. Even their third string receiver, Sherfield or whatever, looked pretty good because he was wide open. I couldn't say anything bad. It just as soon as he got hurt, man, it was okay. But he's a smaller guy, and that's my concern for Bryce Young.
Yeah.
Bryce Young taking a big hit from a 300-pounder where the 300-pounder's I don't care, I'm going to take that 15-yard penalty, and just puts his whole body weight on him. Or just grabs a hold of him and twists him in a weird direction that his body's not going, and it snaps something, right? Whatever. But
well, there's a number of guys. I think Kenny Pickett kind of needs to prove it a little bit this year.
He does, but I'm not Kenny Pickett is absolutely probably that line. Him and Mac Jones. I think I don't know if they can get much. Is
Kirk Cousins that line?
No, Kirk Cousins is way over the line.
Okay, because I think Pickett has a Kirk Cousins feel to him. Now, can he do that? I don't know. But I think let's be honest. Cousins had Shanahan's coming into the league. So he had a lot of help from play calling. Kenny Pickett is not getting that. Okay, I think we can agree on that, right? He's not getting that level of offensive genius to help him out. But I think they upgraded their offensive line. I think their skill positions are. I'm not just saying. Much. I think they upgraded it. Okay, and their skill positions I think are crazy good. Young but crazy good. Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Freiermuth, Harris, Warren. They added Darnell Washington. Like, dude,
I think there's better groups in the league, but those guys have got some talent. Yes.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Pickens was talked about as possibly being the best receiver in that draft if he didn't have possibly some off-field issues and his injury. Instead, he falls to the second round and they get a steal.
We'll see. I'm not high on Pickett at all. I just don't see it from the guy.
I'm just saying that I could see that potential happening. I don't know if I'm on board with that, but I could see it happening. Just as another guy, I think kind of needs to prove it. You know who I told you to keep an eye on? And again, it's preseason. I'm not trying to get crazy excited about it. But if you play well when you're supposed to play well, I still do think that means something, which Jordan Love's done, which Pickett has done. Justin Fields and his 3 behind the line scrimmage screen passes did. And this other guy that I told you to keep an eye on, Sam Howell, has done. Again, it's preseason. I'm not trying to get crazy, but when you play well when you're supposed to play well, regardless of what you're doing, like I don't care if you're playing against the threes. If you still ball out against the threes like you're supposed to, that says something. How much of something it says, I can't quite tell you just yet.
When teams bring out the first string defense against you, pressure you, put coverages, make you think a little bit more, we'll see more. But he's looked good. Absolutely.
Right? So
he's looked good. I don't like the Terry McLaurin injury, but Turco's a bitch, man.
That's not good. But luckily, De'Ami Brown might actually get some really good run because they played together in college. So there's some chemistry to help make that pick not completely worthless. And Jahan Dotson's a beast. So
Jahan Dotson's that dude with Terry McLaurin.
And let's be honest. Again, it's only preseason. But Bieniemy looks like he knows what he's doing calling plays. He's putting that offense and those weapons in some really good positions. Again, preseason, we're not seeing everything. I get it. But again, when you go up and down the field and score like you're supposed to, you should get credit for that, regardless of what you're doing or who you're playing against.
So if you were putting money on the Cardinals and the Commanders game, you might put some money on the Commanders. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
I'm not a big fan. I don't think Colt McCoy is going to help win them games. That would be like one of the games on their schedule they might have a chance. But Cardinals are probably going to lose that game.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Dorian Thompson. What's his name? Robinson? I don't know. He's got 3. Dorian Thompson Robinson. I hate hyphenated names. I really hate them.
Quarterback coming out of UCLA that's now drafted by the Browns and playing really well. That who you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah. I watched, man, because obviously my son's a Browns fan, so we were watching the game Thursday night last week. And I was just like, man, this guy, he's making good decisions. The ball was on point. Like, I was super impressed, man. He was doing some good stuff against a lot of the Eagles. Jordan Davis was out there. Jalen Carter was out there. Like, they had a lot of good defenders out there, and he was still carving them up.
He comes from Chip Kelly.
Yeah, but I didn't see any of that in his game in college. I saw like the movement, the running, like he's done some of that. Him standing in the pocket and hitting, like making the right decisions almost every time has been pretty shocking to me. And I'm rooting for him. He's looked really good. So, although I mess up his name all the time because I'm like, I hate hyphenated names. Like I don't like them. Pick a name. That's me.
That's fair. What else you got for the NFL?
Man, that might be it for right now. I know we're winding down. The last week of preseason this weekend. Most starters will play a series, maybe if they play at all. I think a lot of teams, if they've seen what they needed from their starters so far, they'll probably shelf them. That's pretty common for the last preseason game. Get all the guys reps that they might be on the bubble. See what they can do. So I don't know if we'll see a lot of stuff this weekend. But man, I'm so ready for the season, man. I'm so ready. So
it's close. It's real close.
So we're real close to college football season as well, which is, I know, some of your favorite things to watch on Saturdays.
Yes, I do. I do enjoy my college football. Let's be honest, that's what the NFL becomes. So get to know them early. And obviously Nebraska is my team, and that's a different type of loyalty. So, right now it's kind of a glutton for punishment type of loyalty, but hasn't always been that way. Maybe it won't be one day again. But with football starting up, they've got this they started, I don't know, a decade ago, but it's the week 0 games. And why they call it week 0, I still don't understand, because people started scheduling games before everybody else was scheduling games normally. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, now they're week 0 games. So it starts Saturday and it goes all the way through next weekend. Is it next weekend? Well, up into next weekend, I should say. And you get a handful of teams that start playing a little bit earlier than everybody else. Notre Dame Navy, that's always been a big game historically. Wasn't always played first game of the year, but for reasons you can kind of imagine why. So that's Saturday.
Maybe what was it that caused their ability to take payments for beer last year at the Northwestern Nebraska game?
Yeah.
They couldn't take payments, so they just started giving beer away for free.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was like, there was like nobody in the stands because they were all getting free beer.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. I forgot about that.
Oh.
So USC plays Saturday as well against San Jose State.
That's
Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, season 2.
Saturday night, baby. That's the game.
So keep an eye on that. There's some games going out Thursday. Utah, who's been pretty good here over the last 5 or 6 years with Whittingham. They play Florida on Thursday night next week. Nebraska plays Thursday night. There's a couple other teams that do as well.
So those are not week 0 games, according to this. Those are like week 1 games.
Yeah, it's kind of so. Yes, because they've gone after this weekend, but because they're on Thursday night, which I don't remember that being a big deal until all of a sudden this year. I kind of still feel like it's kind of like how the NFL season kicks off on Thursday night. Like, yeah, it's season 1, but that game kind of feels separate from everything else. You know what I mean? So then everything else goes off Sunday, and then Monday Night Football.
So kind of Florida, Utah is Thursday, August 31st.
Yeah.
And that's kind of technically like week 1.
Right. I know it is, but I kind of separate it out still because it's not Saturday football. They're playing a night game on a weekday, which is not normal for most Power 5 conferences. There's some other conferences like the MAC and stuff that they'll play on like a Tuesday night out of nowhere in November. So you can never trust exactly what's going on. But for the Power 5, it's unique to not play on Saturday. That's why I separate these out a little bit. But then Saturday, 2 days later, you get into the full slate. Starting bright and early, 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Games kick off, and they run all the way until roughly 10 p.m.
They already
that night.
They already got Nebraska as underdogs week 1.
against Minnesota. Yeah, Nebraska's going to be underdogs a lot this year, I'm sure. Let's just hope the ship gets pointed in the right direction finally. That's all.
Well, they got CU as 21-point dogs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust any of that. I think Dion's a really good coach. I think he's got some talent there. I think his son Shadir, I think he can ball actually at QB. It'll be interesting to see what he does against this level of competition if he can continue to elevate his game. But I think he could be a dark horse Heisman candidate, legit.
I just know that TCU lost like half their offense to the NFL draft. So
yeah,
like, did they replenish all of that like that quickly?
Hard to say. But I think when Nebraska, when Colorado goes, 1 for last year, I think they got 1 win. And then the coach basically gets rid of everybody on the team from last year, like legitimately, and brings in everybody else he could possibly find off free agency, transfer, whatever you want to call it in college football. Don't get mad. It is what it is. That's some lofty expectations. It'll be interesting to see what they do year 1 in Boulder there.
And Georgia's still ranked number 1?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, some people think LSU will win the SEC. Bama, there's people predicting they kind of fall off this year, have, 3, maybe 4 losses.
Does Bama even know who their quarterback is?
Not yet. But in fairness, neither does Ohio State, and Ohio State's not being looked at as falling off the map like Bama is by all accounts from where they were. I'm not talking like they drop outside of the top 10 even, but Bama finishes at 8 or 9 with 3 losses. That's a very down year for Alabama, right?
I mean, Ohio State's still got that really good running back though, Robinson,
Tre'Davious Henderson,
yeah.
They also have the best player in college football, probably, in Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right.
I mean, they're going to be good. Don't get me wrong. They're just trying to figure out who their quarterback's going to be. They lost C.J. Stroud. There's a couple guys there who are highly recruited, but do they step in seamlessly and ball out? Hard to say. That's kind of what's happening with Alabama as well. Georgia's got their guy, and then they've got the guy after him. Just kind of like the Texas situation, but Texas always Texases recently. So can they come in and ball out?
God, yeah, LSU's ranked 5th. Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who think LSU will win the SEC. Florida State or Clemson are the sexy picks, obviously out in the ACC. A lot of people seem to be leaning Florida State's way, which is kind of surprising because they didn't do a whole lot last year, and I didn't see a whole lot change this year. They don't have the easiest schedule to start. But then again, is Clemson going to be that good? Like, is Dabo Swinney kind of a one-hit wonder kind of almost thing where he had like this 4 years of really great recruiting somehow and then can't replicate it? So that'll be an interesting battle there in the ACC. North Carolina could sneak out of nowhere just because they have Drake May, who I'm hearing some crazy things from people that he might be a better prospect than Caleb Williams. Not hearing it a lot, but I've heard it enough to where I'm like, wait, what? Are you kidding me? So that's something to keep an eye on, how good Drake May really is, and can he elevate that team out of nowhere? Big Ten is going to be Michigan most likely. Ohio State could give them a run. Penn State could give them a run. The West, as much as I hate to say it, is probably against Wisconsin and Iowa. And it's Iowa. Can they really score enough points? Luke Fickell up there at Wisconsin, first year. Look what he did with Cincinnati. I would probably trust Luke Fickell more than I would a Ferentz at this point. But Michigan probably wins the Big Ten. I think they have the best running back duo in the country that just isn't getting talked about enough, which is crazy to me. But Corum and Edwards. And Edwards might be better than Corum. Those two are crazy good.
Yeah, I mean, if Corum didn't get hurt, he probably goes to the NFL. If he didn't get hurt.
I would agree. And Edwards, I think, might be better than him. So keep that in mind. Can J.J. McCarthy really step up and ball out? Because they're going to need him to. So, but it's probably Michigan in the Big Ten. Big 12, like I said, Texas, can they do what they're supposed to do, or does Oklahoma beat them? It's probably between one of those two in the Big 12. And then they're both jumping ship to the SEC the following year. So then the Big 12 looks completely different with Colorado coming back and some of those other teams joining, like Arizona, Arizona State, so on and so forth. Utah.
Need to get Nebraska back in the Big 12.
Well,
let's bring back those old rivalries.
Let's see what Rule can do. That would be cool, but let's see what Rule does. There's definitely more money in the Big Ten right now. And since that's probably going to be one of the two super conferences with the SEC, I don't know why you'd leave it. Let's be honest. The ACC and the Big 12 are just waiting to be eaten alive like the Pac-12 was. Like, that's just what's about to happen. So there's that. And the Pac-12 is kind of wide open, honestly. Dark horses, I would say, if you're looking at a dark horse-ish, Utah, Washington, and Oregon. Any of those three teams could go off. All have great quarterbacks. Two of those quarterbacks are going to be in the Heisman conversation with Bo Nix out of Oregon and Penix out of Washington. And then you've got USC. Caleb Williams, Lincoln Riley, year 2, like I've already mentioned. Do you pick against USC and go with one of those other guys? I don't know if you can do that with year 2. Now, Utah's the defending champ. Like I said, Utah's been really good recently. So I wouldn't count them out by any means. Oregon and again, Washington can all do some damage. So keep an eye on the Pac-12. I think it's kind of wide open, USC being the slight favorite. And then that conference is dead in year 2. USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten, Oregon and Washington following them, Utah, Colorado, they're going down to the Big 12. So Pac-12 is over with after this. So last Pac-12 champion, as we know it, will be crowned, and that conference has been in existence for over 100 years, something like that, like 1909 or 13 or something crazy. So pretty wild what this realignment and colleges have done strictly because of football and having no conscience for anything else that school offers for sports or academics or anything else whatsoever. Just making these decisions strictly based on football.
Right. So what else what are you most excited for besides Nebraska in college football?
I mean, I am excited for the Husker season. I'm always excited when the season starts. Whether that or not that continues isn't always the case. But Rule's got a track history, right? A proven track history of kind of taking trash programs and building them up to competitors. So maybe there's some hope there. I'm excited to see what some of these quarterbacks that aren't being talked about necessarily as much as some of those big names like May and Williams, Bo Nix, Penix. You got a guy who his name's mentioned, but maybe not necessarily in the same breath for whatever reason just yet. Milton out in Tennessee.
Right.
He could do some crazy things. There was another guy I was thinking about here earlier. Hopefully it comes back to me.
Yeah, could be a crazy NFL draft if a lot of these guys, come out.
Well, by all accounts, Penix, Nix, Williams, May.
Yeah, I don't think Nix has any more eligibility left.
Neither does Penix. I don't think Penix does either, actually. So those guys are all going to come out. Marvin Harrison Jr. is coming out. Tre'Davian Henderson, like you just talked about, Corum. I'm drawing a blank. The guy's name out of Ole Miss. I think it's Ole Miss. Who might be the best running back in college this year, possibly.
Wait, say that again. From where?
Ole Miss.
Oh, yeah. God, why am I drawing a blank on that guy?
Yeah, I don't know why.
If Andy was here, he would know. Andy would know.
There's another guy out of Arkansas that's really good. So I'm excited to see all the additional talent that is going to be showcased, because a lot of times the Heisman prediction does not become the Heisman, right? More times than not. And with Caleb Williams being projected, yeah, he might have a really good year and still the best quarterback prospect. Okay, goes number one. But there could be somebody that comes out of left field that has, I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. could win the Heisman. Like, I could easily see him going for 2,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, like just something crazy.
He'd have to have a pretty crazy year for that. I do think Arch Manning plays because I think Quinn Ewers will make enough mistakes to make that switch.
I think people are forgetting Quinn Ewers was a top prospect.
He was the number one prospect in his class.
And then he didn't reclassify, but he transferred from OSU. He reclassified, like he went early. He went in the winter semester to OSU. So he was young at OSU, then didn't get that job because of what was in front of him. So he went to Texas. Last year gets hurt, so has a down year because of injury that I don't think he ever quite healed from. But let's be honest. Anybody that was watching that Alabama-Texas game knows that Alabama loses that game if Ewers doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, if Ewers played the whole game, man, Alabama was going to lose, and they were probably going to lose big.
So Ewers is another one that could leave the draft this year if he plays well. Spencer Rattler, there's a lot of talk about him finally showing up to what he's supposed to be. I don't know if it'll happen, but let's not forget he was a number one prospect going into Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma before Caleb Williams came in. So there are some names out there. I'm drawing a blank on some of the other running backs and wide receivers right now, but there are some names out there that I'm very excited to watch play this season and see how they, either rise to the moment or moment becomes too big and they don't quite do what they need to. So other than Nebraska, that's probably the thing I'm most excited about this year is just seeing a lot of talent back in college football at a high level, where there's a lot of guys you're excited to watch, not just like one or two that they're focused on.
I'm hoping with NIL, transfer portal, all these different things, I'm hoping it brings a little more parity to college football. Like, I'm tired of seeing Alabama dominate. I'm tired of, like, I want to see good football, and when we get supposedly the best teams playing against each other, I want to see a good game. I don't want to see, like, here's number 3 versus number 8, and we get a blowout. Like, I'm so tired of seeing that.
I think we're close to that.
Competitive game.
I think we're close to that. I do agree with you.
And that's what's caused my, like, disinterest in college football. Because, like, occasionally when, like, I don't know, years ago, if LSU was ranked number 1 and Alabama's number 2 and they play and I watch and then Alabama slaughters them by 30, like, that's not fun to watch unless you're an Alabama fan. But if you're a football fan, you want to watch a good football game.
Sure.
So
I think that's understandable.
And Miami sucked for years, so I don't have a rooting interest in most cases.
Well, right, and that's the thing. Like, I'm from Nebraska, right? Like, it's in my blood. Like, you're given a jersey at birth kind of thing, like for every Nebraska person in the state. So while I may not have gone to the school, I have family that went to the school. I was born there. That's what I grew up rooting for and loving. So I have, like, an invested interest where you just kind of picked your team while you were overseas because you liked what you saw.
I was here in Colorado, but they were Miami was always on TV in 1991.
I know. I was just trying to do you a solid and allow you to pick it when you were in, like, Germany with the Broncos and that's all you could see. That's how I accept you being a Miami fan in my head. That's how I accept it.
Miami was on TV. I love that green and orange. I like that swagger. I was sold, man. Warren Sapp, The Rock.
The Rock. You mentioned The Rock like he's a reason you're a fan of Miami.
Got to throw that in there. I like The Rock. He's a good guy.
Oh, boy. Okay. Yeah, Miami's in the same boat as Nebraska right now.
Look,
It's not.
if I can ever get Miami to win a championship again, I would probably get the mascot doing this as a tattoo.
Yeah, you get a U tattoo.
I would.
Okay.
That's not going to happen, so I'm safe, but it's never going to happen, so I don't have to worry about it.
Well, Nebraska better, so I'm still very hopeful that
I don't think
something
that's
will-
going to happen either, bro.
We'll see. Like you said, NIL should level the field. There's plenty of NIL money there, and they just opened one of the best facilities in the country 2 days ago. So they dropped a bunch of money into, that athletic to catch up to where everybody was and be better than, if you will. Now, obviously, it's like football. What happens when one quarterback gets paid and then the next one comes up? He becomes, the best contract ever, right? So they constantly are just leapfrogging each other. But Nebraska's finally come up to that level with all their facilities and amenities and everything that goes with that. There's plenty of NIL. They have a coach that's been proven to rebuild programs. If they start winning, that changes a lot of things. If they stay where they've been and you're getting 4 wins, 5 wins a year, then I'll have to start changing my opinion. But at least I've got, one last penny to throw into the well.
You've got hope. You've got hope. It's okay. They haven't sucked all of it dry yet, so we'll get there.
Nope, not yet. Not yet. They haven't. But I mean, let's be honest. I'm a father now. I have to look out for my children, and if it becomes evident that the team I root for is going to be losers, then I can't have my children following in that.
Oh, don't worry, they won't. They'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about, Dad. I love Bama. Like it'll be something.
Yeah, right.
Like
So
yeah,
good. Well,
you don't even have to worry about it.
Taught them well.
You'll have all these cute pictures of them as Husker fans. And then all of a sudden they're teenagers wearing like a team that you don't like.
Right. Yeah.
So
Perfect.
It happens, and it just proves that, sometimes bad parenting happens.
Yeah, there you go. What are you most excited about the college football year?
Like I said, I just want to see some competitive games.
Just see some good games.
That's what I'm hoping for. Like I get hyped up when I see I don't have anything going on Saturday. Like Saturday night, I'll usually go to a movie or something. So I'm usually doing something. But occasionally, there's like a Saturday night. I don't really have anything to do. And
I'll keep you posted on what are supposed to be the big matchups. Let's hope some of them can pique your interest this year.
Like probably the last 5 years, anytime I've sat down and watched like the big game, it's horribly disappointing.
There's been some bad ones. There has been some bad ones.
That's what I need, some competitive college football to get me excited about college football again. So hopefully we get that. Cheers.
Cheers, my guy.
All right. Do we do the annual league fantasy draft rundown and allow me to talk shit about everybody else's teams?
I mean, it's always a good time.
It's dangerous.
For you.
For me, yes. But when I try to tell the truth, right? So I think it's a good time because at least we can talk some more fantasy.
Yeah, fantasy's always good.
And then we'll make it a short show tonight. Let me share the screen here. Can you see the screen, Caleb? I can't see. I can't see your lovely face anymore.
There.
That look good?
Yeah. Can you see me now?
No, I can't see you. I've just got it on the page. I
got you. Yeah.
I guess I could go. Okay, I'm good. No, I got it. Got to be smarter than the computer. All right. So this is our league. It's a 12-man league. We've probably been going about 12 years, I think. We're definitely over a decade. That's how long we've all been playing together. Now, a couple folks have joined in the last couple years. Caleb, Zach.
Well, shoot, I've been doing it for probably at least 7.
I think you've been doing about 5.
No, it's got to be longer than that because I did it when I was still working with you at USAA.
Okay, that might be true.
Yeah, so it's definitely longer than that. I was debating if it was 8 by now.
So we've had some guys come and go, but we've had a pretty steady crew for a long time. And we do a live draft specifically to get the camaraderie, right?
This is the one I mentioned at the top of the show that we did this weekend.
And I think that matters. I think that's the one thing about fantasy. It is the toughest thing because when you're trying to plan a draft, you're trying to get 12 people available at a certain point in time, and that's not always possible, but we do our best. That's one thing about being a league manager that sucks is you try to plan a time that works for most people, but sometimes you won't always be successful. So obviously you'll see Caleb, who's Vitus. He's got the number 2 pick, and then somehow I ended up with the shitty number 9 pick. I don't know how that happens to the league manager, but that's how it went down. So obviously I think your decision was pretty darn easy at number 2. I don't think that really took a lot of thought, just saying.
Just looking at our first. Damn.
I mean, the only reach technically is Mahomes, but I don't hate it.
Our first 10 picks could be argued that you definitely won.
I just like when Barkley was there, I was just like, Barkley was so good last year. Like, I think he was a top 5 guy last year.
Well, I thought Mark was going McCaffrey first, to be honest with you. That's why I kept asking you, because then I was like, based on what I wanted to do, I was looking at Eckler or Barkley. I wasn't necessarily looking at Jay Jetta. Based on what I was trying to do.
So Mark deployed a wide receiver strategy in both drafts that day because he was part of the 7:00 draft as well. And he literally went like 4 straight wide receivers in that draft too.
That's definitely the new popular decision. There's no doubt about that.
Now, normally I hate it. But I'm like, he got Miles Sanders, Montgomery, and Cook. I don't hate that at all. Those are all guys that can give you serviceable. I don't think they're going to like score 20, 30 points a game for you, but could they score you 10 to 15 every week?
Yep.
Sure. While your wide receivers are doing the 20 to 30? Absolutely. It's all about just building that consistency over your overall roster.
Yep. And I went the exact opposite of his thought process.
Yeah. But I mean, your team's solid, bro.
Oh, dude, don't get me wrong. Like I said, and I told you this right after the draft, and this is maybe what concerns me the most. I got everything I wanted for the most part. There wasn't a pick where I was like,
I don't think your team is like gangbusters, but is it absolutely top 7, which top 7 makes the playoffs? Absolutely. Absolutely.
It'll be interesting. I mean, if Etienne and Harris have breakout years, like I'm hoping they do, Dobbins, when healthy, has proven he can ball. I'm not worried about my running backs. Does DJ Moore break out? Does Evans still get 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns with Baker? Does Pickens take the next huge step like I hope? Is Sutton as sneaky good as we both thought he was at that value?
You know what's going to suck? Is I feel like out of those receivers, you're going to play the wrong one.
Every week?
Every week.
Yeah, dude.
Because I guarantee you Sutton is going to have weeks where he gets like Russ and him last year they had no chemistry.
None. And now it seems like that's his favorite target.
They have when I watched the training camp reports, it was like finish the day with a touchdown pass to Cortland Sutton in the 2-minute drill. And it was every day. So Cortland Sutton is very underrated this season. Just based on, I think him and Russ have a connection now.
If Love plays as well as I think he can, then Dobbs has proven he's kind of the number 1 de facto right now because that seems to be his favorite target. He could have a solid little year too.
It'll be Christian Watson there, but Dobbs should have a pretty good year.
We'll see. But like to your point, like
if you play your 4 running backs. And then you play your 2 wide receivers. Now you're like, which wide receiver do I play?
Yep, it's going to be brutal. So, I took some risks there. But
where it's the same thing with Mark. Mark's going to play 4 wide receivers.
Yeah,
and then try to figure out who's going to have the better week out of his running backs.
absolutely. Cody, you're going to love this. That's SP.
So
That's our former co-host, Mr. Super
He-
Producer himself.
So I will tell you, in the past, he has drafted like 5 wide receivers before he grabs a running back.
He's all about the zero running back.
So when he drafted 2 running backs up front, I was like, wait, what's happening? Like, are you feeling okay? Are you down? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, we were
yeah.
all very surprised by that draft.
Now, I think Kittle, Waller, Lawrence, Tua, all back to back. I think he lost out on some other talent he could have had that would have stacked his team.
The Kittle Waller, I don't hate at all. One, you're backing up the injury bug for both of them and hoping it's off weeks for either or.
But you're only going to play one, right?
No way, dude. If they're balling like they're supposed to, they're easily a flex play. We have 3 flex spots, don't we?
You do. I guess there is extra flex spots, yeah.
So you're playing both of those guys for sure. It's the T-Law and the Tua back to back that is kind of killer because it's a 1 QB league. So taking both of them right there.
I mean, I look at his. There's no depth on that squad.
There's not a lot.
So that's the problem with that. It's still solid, but there's no depth on that lot. I hate to say it. My wife's draft's pretty good. Besides, I don't like Njoku where she got Njoku.
Okay, let's see here. Tyreek, Josh Allen, Mixon and Pierce I like. London I like. I actually think Njoku could have a big year if Watson bounces back. He's so talented, and Watson likes to throw to talent, so that could be interesting. Oh, I love Gibson. Yep. Kirk and Davis there is nice. Sky Moore, big. Damn, Hannah had a great draft.
Right? I was looking.
Joe
like,
Johnson, who I think could be the breakout tight end of the season.
Yes, she took Njoku over Waller. That's why I was shocked. Like, I got Goddard after all those guys, and Goddard could be better than all of those guys, numbers wise.
I got Ingram after all of those guys. Ingram could be.
Now, we also had someone take Freiermuth in the 5th. I don't know, man. So Sonny's team's, I think, going to be the Sacco. I had 2 candidates. I'll let you see if you can choose the other one, but I feel like hers is a strong candidate. And that's just because
it's got to be Andy, right?
Yeah.
If that's where you're leaning, it's got to be Sonny and Andy. If that's what you're trying to look at.
Yeah, I just a lot of people's teams I think are very solid. When I was breaking them down, I was like, I see both of those teams.
Junior could have some problems.
Right. But that's, I mean, he's got Gibbs, he's got Eckler, he's got 4 decent receivers. He's got Deshaun. If Deshaun's got a ball, if Deshaun's not what he was, like that, his team's toast too.
I mean, I don't feel like I'm much further ahead of either of those teams, though. Anyways, like I'm relying on some breakout.
Oh no, man! But you're stacked. Like again, you are stacked so. Like your running backs should carry your team.
Hopefully,
if you pick the right wide receivers that week, your team should be just fine. And Kirk Cousins is always going to give you a pretty damn good floor every week. He's going to score you 20, 25 at least every week. So
that is the backup plan, to say the least.
So your team's definitely there.
Zach had a sneaky good draft too, actually.
Zach's draft is really good. Aaron Rodgers and Goff. He's going to need Dulcich to ball out because that was his top tight end. But like his running backs and his wide receivers are all solid. Like his team's looking good too, man. His team's looking good. I don't like Durant's team because I'm not I don't think Cam Akers and AJ Dillon are going to do much of anything.
Sure, I can see that. That could be
Like,
a problem for him.
Devontae Smith, T. Higgins, and Jahan Dotson will be good.
The Lazard and Zeke pick and Boyd pick were all a little in Chuba Hubbard.
I mean, those are all okay because those are all depth. But
yeah, but when you're picking there, you want, at least my strategy has always been, you want potential, not a ceiling of,
Durant won last year, so I was very happy when I looked at his team and went, oh, yeah, he's not winning this year.
Fair.
Now, Etch's team, same kind of thing. Like Jamar Chase and Pollard, Burrow, awesome. Like, as you know, I'm a Burrow guy. I'm cool with that. But the rest of the team looks really, Penny might be something if he stays healthy, and Swift.
He's hoping for a lot of potential. Ayuk, Addison,
right,
Bateman,
right,
Keandre Miller. That back half of the draft is, I mean, if those guys hit, he could be sneaky good.
And then, I mean, the top scorer right now projected, and the guy whose team just looks really good overall is Sam's, in my opinion.
I don't think it looks that great. I think Dylan eats into Jones this year a little bit. So I don't know if he quite is the top running back, but you pair him with Connor. Connor's proven he's going to eat regardless.
Of the options of the running backs available at that point, you could say Jones was the safest.
Sure. I like Khalil Herbert late there. I think Breece Hall is kind of a throwaway pick right now. I just would be surprised if he has a big year, given the injury coming back with the knee. I hope he does. I hope he proves me wrong. I just feel like maybe the Jets hold him back a little bit. So is that a value there at, 7, given what else might have been possible?
I mean, again, he's also hoping James Conner stays healthy.
Yeah. Mike Williams, Brandon Cooks. Beckham.
Don't know what you're going to get from Cooks now. He's, getting up in age. And
I mean, those first 3 picks are killer. You start going through the back half of it, and you're like, well, I actually kind of like what I did more. You start doing that kind of thing, and it's tough. It's definitely tough. But we did add tight end premium this year, so taking Kelsey at the 3 should be super safe.
That's why
I did with McCaffrey.
I got super happy with Goddard in the 7th with the tight end premium. Him and Hurts are good together. So,
yeah, for sure. There's no issues there. That's going to be an interesting season. I don't think anybody had an awful
I'll let
draft.
I'll let you judge my draft because, again, I wasn't super high in it, but I don't like the 9th pick at all. But I felt like I did what I thought I did pretty well for what I had available.
If Walker is really going to be the dude, and when I say the dude, just meaning he's getting at least 50% of the carries, and then the other 50% gets distributed to whoever they want to. I don't really care. Then you're good there. Javonte is kind of your wild card because if he doesn't have a great season there.
I saw a lot of good things in San Francisco when he played this weekend.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying if he doesn't for some reason, then you're kind of relying on that very top heavy with Wilson, with Debo, and Deontay Johnson. Because, I talked up Tony, but, is he going to be healthy enough to be around when you need him? If he is, he could have an insane year. That could be the skill of the draft.
If he's not, I'm cool. I got Deontay Johnson. I got Juju, who will at least give me some decent games.
Possibly.
If Tony doesn't, stay healthy, which I don't think he will.
I like Justin Herbert there, given what had already gone at quarterback. And you got 2 of the top 2 there, with your 2 solid wide receivers and 2 running backs. So grabbing Herbert in the 5th, I like. Goddard in the 7th is a steal, honestly. So overall, I don't hate what you did at all. But again, I feel like I'm looking at everybody's roster, nobody had a really bad draft. Like, even when you talk about, Sonny and and Andy being possibly Sacco, you kind of look at what they did and you're like, well, they're kind of shooting for the stars with some options here. And if those align and they work out for them, they're going to have really good
Which,
teams.
again, it's all on paper right now until the guys play the games, right? And anything can happen. I thought I was going to be good last year. I ended up being in the bottom 4 teams or bottom
I've
5.
never not made the playoffs.
So
I hope that doesn't start this year.
I mean, it's just tough out there, bro. It's just tough out there. But I've learned, I mean, if you can stack up enough good running backs, you have some guys. Again, it's just how you build your team that like provides the overall value every week.
Well, like I said, I basically got exactly what I wanted after doing a bunch of mock drafts and stuff. So I can't be mad with whatever happens this year because it's not like you and Zach were sitting on either side of me sniping everybody you knew I liked just for shits and giggles.
Which did not work out as a good strategy for me last year. By the way,
it didn't do you guys very well. It did not.
We both ended up in the toilet bowl, or in the bottom 5, and I think Zach ended up in the toilet bowl against Mark, but he won. So,
yeah. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it does me really good. And, I can feel even more confident in my evaluation of talent and possibilities.
And I love Sonny. I do. I didn't feel the Ramondre Stevenson pick. I didn't mind Justin Fields. I think as a fantasy player, he's going to be great. Madison, okay. Freiermuth, though, like, I don't know where that came from.
Stevenson and Madison could be top 5 backs this year. Legitimately. Like
I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that from anything Madison's done.
I could, when he's had the opportunity, he's averaged something like 18 fantasy points a game or something like that.
Again, that's on like 25, 30 carries. Do they give him that many? Like,
I agree. I'm just saying, when he's had a chance to shine, he's done really well.
I think they're planning to throw the ball more.
We'll see. Freiermuth could have a breakout tight end one season type. You've even said it. He's super talented. They just don't use him enough. So if they finally start using him, he could have a great year. Now, what have I taken him over Waller?
Over Waller, Goddard? Kittle.
I could see a path to taking him over Kittle. I could, because of the injury concerns with Kittle. I could. You might get Kittle only for 8 games this year. That's the kicker.
I think those 8 games might produce more fantasy points than Freiermuth's going to get.
You might be right, but I could see the argument there if that's where you want to go. But over Waller and Goddard, I could see it over Pitts and Njoku for sure, but not over Waller and Goddard.
Like Christian Watson, I mean, that's swinging for the fence. Like if he does ball out with Jordan Love, awesome. But what if he doesn't?
Well, he's got to prove it again, but what he did in his sample size last year was incredible.
And I mean, I have Michael Pittman as my don't draft guy. I want no part of any wide receivers in that offense right now for consistency. Not saying he's not really a good player.
He is the number 1. So worst case, he's going to be the one getting the most looks. Do those lead to true points for you is another question. I don't like the Michael Thomas pick, but that's just because I think Michael Thomas is done.
I actually like the Michael Thomas pick that deep with Derek Carr. I don't mind that at all.
We'll see.
And then I think Russ will have a bounce back year. I mean, you're only going to play Russ probably once, or unless, the Bears are playing a really, really tough defense and you just don't want to take that risk.
Right.
But I mean, Fields has proven even against a good defense, he can run the ball really well. So, maybe you don't want to lose out on those points, but Singletary in Houston could be good. I don't want to draft rookie tight ends at all. So
sure. The track record has not been great. I get it. So you were talking about my guys earlier. While we have the board up and all the guys are in front of us, who are your guys?
Well, from what I watched last season, I really enjoyed Kenneth Walker. Like his ability to make the big play, I thought was just really fun to watch. So I enjoy watching him. I mean, I love watching Joe Burrow play. Like everybody knows that.
Sure.
Sure. steady. He's cool in the pocket. He's like he's like a new version of Joe Montana. He's got to get a lot more success to get to that level, but I think he's got that moxie in him. Watching Hurts play was fun, man. Last season, watching Hurts, they run the ball, and then throw a 50-yard bomb to AJ Brown. Like watching Hurts develop and play really well was fun to see. Jahan Dotson's that dude. He's really fun to watch. The way Herbert swings the ball when his dudes are healthy is
absolutely
pretty enjoyable to watch. So
it's like the most points scored the first 3 seasons of a quarterback's history, and also the defense gave up the most points allowed in that same 3-year span.
They didn't put out the stat that he's thrown a lot of interceptions in the fourth quarter as well.
See what happens. You start pushing when you're down, and your defense isn't stopping anybody. That could change. And again, this is only his 4th year, right? I think that's what some people are neglecting to mention.
Right.
So, all right. I got a couple of my guys, which is another reason I really like my team. Etienne, I think, has a huge season. I think he blows up. I'm talking 2,000 all-purpose yards, 18 touchdowns, 60-plus receptions, a really good season. I think DJ Moore finally has a season where people go, oh, yeah, he's a top 5 receiver. No questions asked. Granted, that means Fields plays really well as well, which I know you don't think he's capable of. But I don't
think he's capable of elite level play.
That's fair. Well, he's got to prove it, right? DJ Moore is an elite level receiver, and I think that's going to go off this year. I'm also really high on Pickens. I think Pickens has a top 10 season fantasy wise. I don't know if that computes to, top 10 receiver wise as well. It should, but I think we're talking 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 90 receptions kind of season. I think Pickens has a huge year. I like Cole Kmet, actually, again, going to the Bears. I said this last year. I thought they would scheme better for him. Apparently that isn't possible. So now they have DJ Moore there who should take off some of that heat. Kmet had 10 touchdowns last year, I believe. I think we'll see a little regression there, maybe 8. But I think his yards will be more around 900, and he'll have close to 70 catches.
If Mark had taken Ingram instead of Kmet, would you have taken Kmet right there?
Yep. That's actually who I wanted. That's who I preferred. So I think Kmet has a really great year. Great year. I think Waller has the top year for tight ends like he did 4 years ago, 5 years ago now. It's been a minute. I think he has a top tight end year. Does he actually beat out Kelsey? That's probably not going to happen.
I think Waller can have that if he stays healthy.
I'm thinking 1,300 yards and 14 touchdowns. That's what I'm thinking Waller does this year.
That's a little high. I think that's a little high on the touchdowns. You're not going to get that from Daniel Jones. He only threw 16 total last year.
Didn't really have a whole lot thrown to, though. So, they added some pieces to that receiving core, and then they brought in Waller. Again, I know that's asking a lot, but I see a big year out of Waller. I really, really like Waller.
I can see the yards and catches being high. I don't think he's going to get that many touchdowns like that.
Fair. I've talked about Tony in the past. I think he could have just a spectacular season, but he's got to stay on the field, and I don't know if that's possible for him per se right now. But another Chief that I really like that I think can have a huge year, top 5 running back season, Pacheco. A full season as kind of the RB1. I think you're looking at
I don't see Andy Reid giving him the ball that much.
I think you're looking at 1,400 yards and 14 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Yeah, dude. I think Pacheco has a big year, and this is why. Look, hang on. I want to make sure I get these right, so I'm going to pull them up just to be on the safe side. Bear with me for a moment here while I grab this real quick. So last year, It says in 17 games, right? But we all know he didn't play 17 games as the lead back or one of the top options in the backfield. He had 170 rushing attempts. Would you say he gets closer to 250 this year?
Probably closer to 220.
Okay, so 220. So another 50 carries, right? He had 830 yards and 5 touchdowns. And he wasn't the main option until what, halfway through the season? Maybe even later?
But they were pretty much done with Clyde week 3 or 4, so it was sooner than you think.
But there's a lot of guys getting touches.
Yeah, and McKinnon's still going to get touches.
Sure, in the passing game, but I think Pacheco's the main running back now. Wouldn't you agree?
He should be. Again, Andy Reid doesn't run the football enough to get those kind of rushing yards, man.
Man, I don't know. He did with Shady. He did with Mitchell.
Shady, I don't think Shady got more than 14.
Right, but I'm saying like 13 or 14 and 14 touchdowns. I'm not saying he's going to break the bank at like 17 or 18 by any means.
Yeah,
but I think 13 or 14 and 14, I think is totally within his wheelhouse.
He's probably going to hit 10 touchdowns. I can definitely go for that. But
so that's another guy I like this year a lot. As far as quarterbacks go, you know, I think the big names are going to be the big names. And out of all the big names, I was debating if I was going to take Fields or Jackson before I took Najee in that third round. And I think Lamar has MVP season. I think he throws for that 4,000 plus yards.
You didn't even get a chance.
Why?
Well, because Fields and Jackson went right before you picked, so you didn't have a chance at either one of them.
No, they didn't. They went right after I picked.
Oh, well, maybe you should have picked them then.
Well, I was debating what strategy I wanted to go with, and I chose the running back heavy model rather than going quarterback because I have this still very true decision-making process of quarterbacks have value late still. And so you don't necessarily have to reach for one of the top guys, and I didn't want to take one there. So I held off. They went right after, so be it. I kind of expected that to happen. I didn't think they'd get back to me in the fourth. But I was giving serious consideration to Jackson and Fields right there at that 3 slot, which would have been completely abnormal.
I would have taken either one of them over Najee, but I'm not really high on Najee.
Well, again, you're not high on any Pittsburgh Steelers, so
I'm not. I think Pickens will actually have a good season. I don't think he's going to have a top fantasy season, but when you look at the numbers, he'll have 1,000 yards. He'll probably have 7 to 8 touchdowns. Like, he'll be good, but not amazing.
Well, if my running backs all blow up and he gives me, 10 to 12 a week, that's all I need. So we'll see. But those are the guys I'm kind of high on fantasy-wise this year to see how that plays out as kind of sleeper, not big-name people.
Man, yeah, if you had Jackson on your squad, like that's – because I do think he's going to have a pretty damn good year. Your squad would be really dangerous.
It would be a little bit different for sure. It was a consideration, but not the one I decided to go with.
Best of luck to you and Najee, baby, because Najee's good. I just don't think he's not going to be that good.
Yeah, well, we'll find out very quickly early on. There's no doubt about that.
All right, man. What do
Final
we want
thoughts,
to close
my
with?
guy?
Well, I know there's more drafting going on. A lot of folks probably drafting this weekend after week 3. I've got another one. September 2nd is my next one that I've got. The Saturday night before the start of week 1.
Yep. Then we got one Sunday night, and then we do one live Tuesday on the show right before the season starts.
Sunday, Tuesday, and I think our vampire one's Wednesday, isn't it? Or is the vampire one on Tuesday?
It's Tuesday, yeah, on the show.
Okay.
We're doing it on the show.
All right, on the show. And the vamp doesn't get to draft, so Cody will just have to sit down and shut up, be quiet.
Should we have Cody on just to give live commentary on everybody he thinks is picking, since he's the vamp and he won't be picking and he'll be going after everyone?
Cody's always welcome, man. You know, he knows that.
Cody, I think we need to do that. I think you need to provide live analysis of everybody's team as those picks are coming in, since you're the vamp and you're going to have to go eat. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Make this happen, Cody. That Tuesday, you better make sure you're ready to go, sir, because that's the first thing we're doing when we start this show. So get your preparations all set up ahead of time.
I guess next week is schedule release then. Or record. Our record reveal of all 32 teams.
That is next week. Or no, were we going to do it after the vampire draft?
No, because the season starts. That'd be like a 4-hour show.
Yeah,
it's gonna take us a good hour and a half.
That'd be ridiculous. So next week we're gonna shed light.
We gotta talk this weekend.
That's gonna be fun. Okay, all right. Well, on that note, always a pleasure, my guy. We appreciate everybody's support, comments, joining in, like, share, all the good stuff. As always, do not ever take those moments that you have with your inner circle, your loved ones, family, friends for granted. Cherish them. Soak them up as much as you possibly can whenever you can. Appreciate all you guys. We're out.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.